everyone, this is episode 16 of the Get in My Garden podcast, and I'm Aaron Moskowitz, your host. Today is the spring episode with Carol and Don of White Duck Farm. Carol is hilarious and has a lot of fun gardening, farming, and experimenting. She loves to learn about sustainability and biodynamic farming. We cover a lot of subjects over coffee in their garden, and humorously chat about their wonderful farm and how things are moving along this spring. Each year is different, and Carol shares about her farmer's market strategy this year to set herself apart from the other market gardeners. We spend about half our time talking about her birds, the chickens, the ducks, the geese, the peacocks, and the guineas. Then we talk about various subjects from, for instance, incubating her birds' eggs and fostering good chicks, and goat kidding season, how they will set up their new beehives, growing flowers to sell at market, toxin-free insect management, creating effective products out of herbs and locally gathered ingredients, expanding into growing mushrooms, and we even revisit canna lilies as a landscape plant. As a passionate and curious biodynamic farmer and gardener, Carol is constantly adapting to change and listening to the farm to maintain balance. We end the interview with a discussion about hoop houses and how this simple technology changed everything for four-season farming.
Okay, everything that's happening on the farm. It is springtime, and soon all of the male animals are going crazy. The peacock is in the front garden because the turkeys are in the poultry yard, and they've been chasing him around. We had 3 male turkeys. Then we butchered 2, and then I went out there, and then there were 3 male turkeys again. And I was like, where the hell did they come from?
Maybe it's the turkeys that went down to the bosque.
The turkeys that went down to the bosque. And then we had 3 female turkey hens, and
only one of them left.
now there's only 1.
Maybe they were like, well, now there's space for us.
Maybe so. Yeah, I don't know. So all the males, the roosters are going crazy. The chickens are laying tons of eggs. We've got broody hens that are sitting on nests. There's a goose nest that's probably got 25 eggs in it. She's sitting on a mountain. She's like up on the top egg, and then there's all that.
It's like 100 underneath her.
The guineas are running all over the place, and I found a guinea egg in the goat yard. I mean, they're dropping eggs. The boys are trying to have sex with everybody, including the hoop house and the walls and the trees. And
So it's pandemonium.
it's pandemonium. Meanwhile, in the earth, the little seeds are like, I feel warmth, I feel sun. And then I put water on them and they go, oh, that feels so good. So they start sprinkling up, and then the peacocks go, oh, look at all this greenery. Let's eat all your greens.
All your fresh things that you're going to try to sell.
Look so good, yeah. And then the things that have been growing, they're like, oh, it's time to make flowers and seeds. So everything that's been up is blooming and bolting, and you can't eat it anymore because it's too bitter. But the emus love bolted greens, so everything gets used.
That's awesome.
Yeah, everything. It is awesome.
Just yesterday, I heard someone say, spring is in the air. And then they were talking about all the dating
Pheromones.
the pheromones in the air.
Flying around.
You do hear that expression. I don't know.
That's
The
awesome.
animals are definitely showing that. The goats should be kidding at the end of this month, or at the end of
You're
April.
kidding.
You should come for that. That's an amazing
That's
thing.
really amazing.
That sounds a little scary for someone like me, but maybe it's worth coming to.
My friend Sam said the same thing. He said, I'll watch, but from a distance. He came out for a couple of days last
Wow.
week. And by the end, he was right down in there.
Right. Yeah.
You just
Okay.
help yourself. It's fast.
Sounds really.
It's wonderful.
I'll come out for that.
I'll
That
call
sounds
you. I will
fun
call you.
and interesting.
I was a doula. A doula.
Oh, is that like a midwife?
Well, it's not a midwife. It's not medical. It's more support for women in labor. So, research has found that women who are laboring with a doula have better responses and are more able to sustain a drug-free labor.
So you're like a human emotional support animal.
Yeah, I am. And so I was a doula for quite a few years, which was great because I got to see a lot of births.
Wow.
And a goat birth is not all that different from a human birth. I have pulled babies now, goat babies, and, dried them off and swung them around to get them breathing and gotten them attached to their mom's teats. And
Wow.
it's been, and it's pretty much kind of like doing a human baby, you know. It's amazing, and it's just so sweet.
And then
right?
all of a sudden, here it is, and it's a being.
Right, I know. The babies are coming. I have probably 100 eggs in the incubator. Last year, my Muscovy duck, she hatched out 13 babies, which were really, really adorable and sweet. She has these huge web feet, as big as my hands. She stepped on all of them and killed them.
Yes, you said that. That's insane.
So this year, I'm keeping the babies until they're big enough to follow after her and not to be squished. But I have
She'll be happy about that.
I hope so. I hope she's not mad at me for taking her egg every day. And every morning she gets up, she spends a night in the duck house, and then in the morning she scurries over to the place where she likes to lay her egg. She lays her egg, and then she gets up and wanders around the rest of the day. But she has this beeline for her nesting spot. And birds, they go back to their spots to nest year after year. And that was where she nested last year.
At what point do you get it away from her? You grab it away, and then she goes back to it, and she's like, damn it, what happened to my egg again?
I wait until she leaves, because she'll peck my hand.
Oh.
She would peck my hand. And I'll tell you, chickens, when they have their babies, they will fly right at your eyes if you get too close to them. I mean, they're like killer animals, killer birds. So.
Well, my first interaction with an animal was when I was 4, and my finger got bitten by a goose at the beach, a Canadian goose.
Yeah, I hear they're pretty aggressive.
They are really aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a lot of birds might be.
Well, and then our ganders are pretty nice most of the time, except for when the females are sitting on their nests. And then they get really protective. And then and I don't know if I said this last time, but when a baby goose is hatched out, the entire flock raises it.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It's so amazing. It takes a village. And, if we would raise our children like geese raise their goslings, this would be a much better world.
Our children would get eaten.
Thanksgiving with the baby. So what else is going on? We are irrigating today. Is our first day of water. It is so dry, and snowpack is
minuscule, right?
Non-existent practically. And
it's going to be interesting because our winter was just so warm, but who knows? Maybe we'll have a humongous monsoon.
Yeah. Let's see what else is going on. Spring. We've got the incubator going. We've hatched out we're on our 3rd clutch, and so we should have babies hatching out on Tuesday.
So what's the process? So you hatch them out, then they're in there, and then are you?
The process is you collect the eggs. You put them in the incubator at 99 degrees or 98.5 degrees. The chicken eggs take 21 days, and you have to turn the eggs. A hen will turn her eggs literally hundreds of times a day because she just moves around in the nest.
Oh.
But we have to turn them, otherwise the embryo will stick to the side of the egg. In New Mexico, it's so dry.
Wait, how do you turn them? Do you have to individually turn them, or is it
I just put my hand in and I roll them around.
I pictured one of those rollers that they have for hot dogs. They just very slowly.
They do have something like that. And I chirped to them. There was that movie about the man who was a turkey, and he talked to his turkeys when they were in the egg, and then when they hatched out, they followed him around like his children, and he perched with them on their perches at night, and until they were fully grown, they stayed with him. So I did an experiment, and I chirped to my eggs. And so the first batch, I chirp, 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 chirp. Every time I turn the eggs, I chirp to them. Those are the little birds that you saw.
The really good batch.
The really good batch. And they were so calm when they hatched out.
That's brilliant.
And I chirped to them, and they would answer me, and it was just so sweet. Then the next batch, I thought, this is scientific research, right? I did not chirp to them. And they were just all over the place, crazy flying, every time I got near them. Now this batch I'm chirping to again. But it'll be interesting because I have duck and goose eggs in there. And we'll see if they respond to my chirp, chirp, chirp.
That will be interesting. And maybe they'll have a kinship.
Duck sound.
Yeah.
And the duck eggs that are in there, those are Muscovies or Muscovies. I don't know how people say that. But anyway, they don't quack. They hiss. So I should probably be going sss to the Muscovies.
Just don't do that around your chicken eggs.
Yeah.
They'll be very confused.
They'll really be confused. But anyway, so that's always really fun. And then in January, I got a wild hare, and I planted all those tomato seeds, and now
I thought you meant an actual
a wild hare,
a rabbit.
Yeah, rabbit. No, I just January is so long and so dark, and Don got me a whole bunch of these grow lights. And this is the female. See how she's green on the neck?
Yeah.
And the male is blue.
Okay, so why is the male peacock so colorful?
To impress the females.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
It's all about sex. See?
Why they developed that, I don't know.
He's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a handsome boy.
Next, this is the way Billy Bob, the one up there, was when we first got it.
How long does it take to get those huge feathers?
1 year.
1 year. And they all get those?
2 years.
He's 2 years old.
He's 2 years old. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he had a little tail toward the end of the first year.
Uh-huh.
But wow.
Yeah, and
I mean,
it
it's
seems
just
like they
you can
just
almost watch it.
exploded.
Yeah.
Wow.
We bring in bees from, right now, this year we're getting our bees from Missouri.
So what does that mean? You're buying the actual bees, or are you getting just a queen? And
No, we're going to get a package of bees. It's 3 pounds of bees and a queen. And then you put them in a hive and seal up the hive so they get food in there, and you have drawn comb and food. And then you put the bees and the queen in there, and you seal it up, and they get acclimated to that spot. Then eventually, within a few days, you can let them out. And hopefully they'll stay. Sometimes they abscond. They don't like the environment.
well, so do they know each other already?
Yeah, they've been in a package together. So the queen, and so what they do is they put a queen cage, they hang it in, and she has her court. And so there's a little package of the queen in her court, and they hang it inside with this little package of a little screen box full of honeybees. So the bees all know her, and then they feed her through the screen in her own little package.
Amazing. So they're working even when they're on the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're always taking care of the queen. They're grooming her and feeding her. And,
Wow.
yeah. And meanwhile, she's sending off pheromones so that when they get into their hive, they're going to recognize her as the mother.
Wow.
The mother of all.
What I found on Facebook is that the beekeepers are so passionate. There's so many people beekeeping now.
All these stores, and I go to Tractor Supply. I love them, and I go to Big R. But there's so many stores, and it just drives me crazy because in one aisle you can buy Roundup,
Ugh.
and in the next aisle you can buy beekeeping equipment. Now that's just crazy. They should not be selling that. That stuff is toxic. It's like been forbidden in Europe already.
Horrible.
So we should not be selling that.
I think everybody who's listening is going to believe that. I mean, they don't even need to be convinced. That is just so dangerous.
It's horrible. Toxic.
It doesn't make any sense.
And it's not just the honeybees, but all the pollinators. And then
I heard the mosquitoes are getting killed off too, like just these little tiny bugs, which we absolutely need for the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So they were testing all these like birds in the Midwest, mm-hmm. and the birds are starving because they don't have enough bugs.
There's so many things that you can do to prevent insects. You can put a pot of marigolds by your door, and that helps prevent insects coming in your house. There's companion planting. There's a lot of different things you can do. And like when I have aphids in the hoop house, and I spray my plants with Dr. Bronner's and water.
That's super simple soap.
Super simple soap.
And they can't live in that. Actually, there's a lady who calls herself the beneficial insect lady, I think, and I'm going to try to get her on the podcast. But even the beneficial insects, they're finding a lot of them are infected with different pathogens or parasites. So like you can order beneficial insects, but your ladybugs, they might carry something that can infect local ladybugs. So it's kind of tough to decide what to do sometimes. So I guess having birds seems like one of the best.
Well, and that's why we got the guineas last year. And they're very noisy, as you may have noticed, but they are incredible insectivores. So last year was the first year that I actually really had a garden because those guineas were on patrol. They ate the grasshoppers, they ate the squash bugs, and they ate the harlequin bugs. They were so great. We called them the General and Michelle.
It's perfect because you gotta get them at their stop the life cycle because they're so quick, right?
Yeah.
They'll just keep reproducing.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. The grasshoppers, and
Don't
then
have
the
enough time
guineas
to
also. They give you eggs, so
That's great.
Yeah, they're really
And those beautiful feathers
and they're
for all the fly
polka
fishermen.
dotted feathers. I mean, who would have ever thought?
So you've been experimenting for years since you came out here,
Mm-hmm.
and each year is a little bit different. So anything that you're specifically trying out new this year or excited about?
So the farmers market, I'm really involved with the farmers market, and people grow amazing cucumbers and squash, and in my little garden, why do I even bother with that? So I'm really trying to grow things that other people don't have.
Yes.
Hey, what an idea! So this year I've got some castor beans plants and some datura.
Datura.
I was thinking about maybe, doing a lot of medicinal plants and maybe just having a medicine plant table.
That sounds great.
Then the other thing is I love zinnias, and the honeybees love zinnias, and I'm going to just plant a ton of zinnias, do cut flowers, and then a lot of calendula because it's an incredible healing herb. The other thing, speaking of, the gifts from Mother Nature, I make this thing called Bueno para Todos. It's an old curandera formula, and it's made out of trementina, which comes from our trees, our pinon trees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sap from the pinon tree, and I mix it with olive oil and beeswax that we get from our bees. And I was up in the forest, and I was thinking, now, how do those curanderas know that this trementina, which has been found scientifically documented to be antimicrobial, and Michael Moore, not the movie maker but the herbologist, did a lot of research on it. Well, when a pinon tree has a wound, what does it do?
Makes sap, covers it up.
Sap, heals itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, of course. They just looked at the natural world.
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
And it does. It makes perfect sense. You're out in the woods, and you need
to have your arm stop bleeding. You put the sap on it, and it's sealed up.
Or you have a big splinter, or your dog steps on a burr.
Or you want to prevent your enemy from seeing. You cover their eyes. They'll never get them open.
But anyway, I think that I really, for me, that's really
that's where you're headed. Sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't use antibiotic cream anymore.
Oh, wow.
And, working around here, I get cuts all the time and never get infected. If they get infected at all, I put that stuff on within a day or two. It heals up faster. Just no problem.
That's awesome. So
and antibiotic cream can take forever and still not heal. This stuff.
So that's called Buena para Todo.
Yeah,
and how much? So
everything.
That makes sense. So what is your capacity of this product? Because I know that you're going to have some very popular products this year, and you're going to be probably going to run out repeatedly, and you're going to be working a lot on that. So, because people are going to come and find you on Etsy, they're going to find you at the market, they're going to contact me to get in touch with you. How much of that stuff do you make?
So maybe when I run out, I make more.
Do you think you can start selling it on Etsy?
The Etsy, I can sell the Bueno. Oh, that's our exciting thing that we're trying this year. We're growing shiitake mushrooms.
Excellent. Is that growing on wood?
Yeah, and we got, what is it? Can't remember, Mushroom Perfectus or something like that. They're from your part of the country.
Oh, did you get them from Olympia?
His name is Stamets, Paul Stamets.
I don't know.
And he believes that mushroom and mycelium will save the world. He's done all this experiments where mushrooms clean up toxic waste sites and stuff.
Oh, I love it. And I know for sure because I tried that, like lion's mane, this amazing, beautiful mushroom.
That's the orange one, right?
It's white.
Oh, no.
And it's like this furry-looking thing, like a lion's mane. And they make supplements out of it. It's insane what it does for the human mind. Oh. It's like an anti-Alzheimer's. It does all this great stuff. Anyway. Yeah. That would be a great medicinal mushroom for you to grow. Yes, I should
try. Anyway, this is our first foray into that because it's so dry here. But they do grow up in the mountains. So we inoculated these elm branches, big elm logs. He sends you a little dowel. And then you drill into the wood, then you put in the dowel, then you cover it with beeswax to seal the mycelium in there, and then we've been soaking it in acequia water. It's a long process. I probably won't get mushrooms until next year.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I'm very excited about that. Now I want to, we'll see how these do, but I do want to try, I want to try the lion's mane. That's a great idea.
So it seemed like in the last few years, some of the really smart farmers, and I tell people that it seems like 90% of the people are just kind of in New Mexico, and this may not be the case elsewhere. They're not thinking so smartly about their crops and when they're going to have crops to sell. But the 10% that are, they're thinking very strategically, and they're coming up with really clever crops to grow and sell that do really special things. And mushrooms were that special thing. It was hard to get local mushrooms at one point, and now they aren't that hard to get. But I think the medicinal mushrooms are still really hard to get. That would be really special.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. It's always fun to grow something new, and that's why, growing new colors of canna lilies would be very fun. So
Yes.
yeah, it's fun to grow something new. And to me, the thing about farming that's so interesting is that you come into farming with your own agenda, and then the farm takes your agenda, throws it out the window, and says, this is how you're going to do things. And there's so many things that I'm doing that I never really expected to be doing.
What's one really solid example?
Well, like the mushrooms. It never even occurred to me. Well, so the farm says it's a drought year and everyone has zucchini at the market. What are you going to do? So, and then I get 12 million farm catalogs and I go, oh my God, I'd like to try that. And, I got ginger.
Nice.
I was reading about ginger, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to grow it as a commodity crop, but I got it at organic ginger. I read about it, I soaked it, and then I'm starting little pots of ginger.
Yeah, that's
Those
what I
are not
love.
things that I had ever planned to do.
But I love it. You're so experimental, and because some people, they're just not taking the initiative. They're not as curious.
It's a curiosity and a low tolerance for boredom. Yeah, you
That's
have to
great.
keep trying things. I think this flower garden is a perfect example. I've changed it about 12 times. It's still not the way I want it. So
Because everybody eats it.
yeah, the chickens come.
We don't want to put fences around it because that's not the point of this one. Because you're inside the kitchen, you want to look out, but everybody eats everything.
So they would probably, if you had canna lilies there, they would go right after those delicious leaves, right?
Yes, so they're going to go in. They'll go in here, and we have plenty of room.
Because I have now, she said, what colors do you like? And I said, well, I'm really interested in the orange colors. So she sent me the Cleopatra, which is that hybrid, unstable variety where you don't know the yellows and the reds in between all the different varieties with spots and stripes and whatnot. And then the King Hubbard, Orange King Hubbard, which is like a mid-size, so I think it's like 5 feet tall. And then she sent me this one that has variegated striped leaves, 3 colors, and it goes 8 feet tall.
It'll be really fun, exciting, and every day you go out and the picture has changed.
Mm-hmm. Those grow so fast.
Yeah.
I'm a city slicker. I just happen to love this farmer's market, and I had such a fun experience being involved in it in many ways. And I've met so many great people. But the trend, obviously, is smaller spaces. Hoop houses are a technology that people, I call it a technology. It's a simple thing, right? Mm-hmm. But it changes everything. Mm-hmm. So how hard is it to get a hoop house up? How expensive is it?
Okay, well...
And what do they do?
Okay.
That one was a kit.
Oh, okay.
And by the time we were done, it was around $750.
$750, and how much square footage would you say?
25 by 10 or 12. This one is a little bit bigger than that, not a whole lot.
Uh-huh.
And we made the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that one came in at a little under 5.
One hoop house would be enough to feed like 20 people.
Yeah, we eat greens all winter and sell greens and start sprouts.
And I mean, if you had, well, you do have shelves in there, don't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be just like an entire business. One hoop house.
Yes.
$500.
Yes.
And someone can create a business, any sort of farm business in there that has plants.
All year round.
The thing about hoop houses that is so wonderful, and you do have to use the right kind of plastic, but it creates a microclimate. Mm-hmm. And what happens during the day, like in the winter, it'll be 80 degrees in there, even on the coldest day.
So then the soil never, ever.
The soil never freezes, and then not only that, but the soil gets hot. And so it continues to radiate during the night. So if you cover it with a little piece of cloth like a row cover, that's why I have tomato plants in there now.
Wait, so you do cover it still with like a blanket?
It's called row cover, and it's probably some sort of synthetic substance. So in the very coldest weather. They're inside the hoop house, but then they're in the ground. The ground is warm, and then to help maintain the warmth in the ground, I'll put something called grow cover over
Oh,
it. Inside the hoop house, and that it makes a smaller space to contain the warmth.
And what would happen if you didn't do that? Because, I mean, they've got a lot of radiant heat and some passive heat in the ground.
Right.
And do you think it would still not freeze, or might it?
Well, there are plants that can sustain that freeze, like all of the brassicas.
Right.
Kale, the kale, mustard. This is my my special blend: mustard, arugula, cilantro, kale, and spinach. I plant that all together in a row, and it'll grow all winter. And if it freezes, it's got antifreeze in it. I don't know what it is, but it will freeze. The plants will freeze, and then during the warmth, then they rejuvenate. They're resurrected.
Nice.
Good thing for Easter, right? But yeah, some plants can sustain that freeze. Now, if they're really tiny, like just little sprouts, they won't. But if they're a good-sized plant, like eating size, they can sustain a freeze and come right back. And still be delicious.
And if you're dealing with something that's a rhizome or something that's slightly deeper in the soil than that?
It will probably be dormant.
I see. But it's still, in my mind, a whole lot easier if you have a hoop house and you're dealing with plants that are like climate zone 8, and here we are in a 6, right?
Right.
So what is that, like 20-degree difference or something?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but...
But that could be a lot easier than having to dig everything up.
You don't know what's going on below the surface of the ground. So with a rhizome, it is sending out roots all winter long. And then the other thing I think that you have to think about is the number of hours of daylight, because plants are very sensitive to that. So I had a plant that was only about 3 inches tall, and I had the lights on, like 10 hours a day for a while. And then I guess I forgot for a week or something. And that little plant, which should have been like 8 feet tall before it did that, went to seed. And it was only this tall. There's a reason why things grow in the summer. Mm-hmm. Besides the heat, it's the amount of daylight. Same thing with the chickens. The chickens don't lay eggs until there's like 10 to 14 hours. Well, really, they like 14 hours of daylight.
Interesting. So with that hoop house that gets to be 80 degrees in the coldest days because of the sun, what happens in the summer? I mean...
Roll up the sides.
Oh, okay. So you have to... The plastic has to be removed.
Yeah, you can remove... Well, we don't remove it.
But rolling it.
You can roll it, and then some things I don't. But, like, you can leave tomatoes in a hoop house all summer. They love the heat.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
It's just
that's
really
the
something.
Fertilizer.
Yeah.
In the old days... I'm sorry.
No, go.
In the old days, people always did many things on their farm. And what the biodynamic farmers say is that the farm is a living organism. You know about this. And that the farm should provide everything for itself. And you can't do that just by growing corn.
Right.
You have to have animals. You have to have variety of plants.
It sounds like you as a passionate, curious gardener and farmer, you've created a more broad farm.
Lots of different things.
I think more than anyone that I've met.
Oh, well, maybe they're saner than we saner. Remember, I was a dancer for 25 years, so...
So now you're dancing around the farm.
I'm dancing.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to the Get in My Garden podcast on iTunes and leave positive reviews if you like the show. Visit getinmygarden.com to see show notes, Instagram photos, or to reach me directly with feedback and ideas. My contact info is at the top of the website. If you'd like to learn about what products are currently available from White Duck Farm, you can call them directly at 575-421-0100. Lastly, it's not too late to buy canna lilies. I'm planning to grow approximately 18 varieties this year using the goat poop soil from White Duck Farm, and you can learn more about canna lilies in episode 12, where I interview the owner of Horn Canna Farm. This insanely impressive plant is related to the banana plant, has similarly dramatic leaves and amazing flowers. Give them a call at 800-365-5528 and let them know you heard about them on the podcast. Catch you later.